All right, so we're back here once again, episode 64 of Commanders in the Chat. What's going on, Rob? How you feeling undefeated?
Oh, it's been a while since we felt this. It's been about 12 years since we felt what 2-0 feels like. It feels good, although there's some questions. But ultimately, this game is about wins and losses, and as of right now, through two games, we got two of them things, so that's what matters.
Yeah, man, we're here, and we definitely got to talk about before we get our preview started. Against our matchup against the Buffalo Bills, got to do a little bit of backtracking on our Sunday matchup versus the Denver Broncos. So, Rob, man, what was your thoughts on the nail biter that was Sunday's game?
Roller coaster. We most games, me and you we text throughout the game. We said, I think I texted you, I hate this team. I don't know how much longer I could do this. A couple hours later, I was texting you how much I love this team. And how we just got that dog in us. It was a hell of a game. When this was probably one of this, and I want to say probably the Monday Night Miracle in Dallas are the two kind of like the most hectic roller coaster games that I've experienced as a fan.
Yeah. Yeah, it was one of those where I know we both, and I even put on my Facebook page like we suck.
We suck.
But I think, but I do that. I don't know if you peeped that out, Rob. I do that often, and then they come back. To me, it's like a reverse psychology. I think I've done it a few times, and they've came back. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, but it is what it is. But yeah, I think the fact that obviously us being able to persevere, especially at that 21-3. 21-3. We were losing 21-3, and then coming back from that deficit. And like you said, we text and we were saying, hey, they're getting out coached. And then I thought, we talked about Del Rio, and it's like one of those where it's like, oh, he, they Sean Payton is out coaching them and the clinic. But I love the fact that this team did bounce back. Kind of one of the keys that we talked about last week, win a turnover battle. Yep. They won that turnover battle +2, and that's what we said. If you're in that plus category, you're going to win football games, especially how this team is constructed. Yep. I like that. Then I like the fact that the turnover, especially the one where the Russell Wilson fumble. I think that was the change of this game. So I think that's one of those where like that came really in our favor. And then and I love about Emmanuel Forbes, where like we said, that fight, that dog. He got burned on that play that led to one of their touchdowns, and then he came back and had an interception. It's one of the things where you look at that, persevered. Sam Howell, he once again, and I keep telling people, this kid doesn't get rattled. This young man does not get rattled. And I keep telling people, even though last week he didn't get his sack as much as he did in week 1, but you see him persevere, do his thing. Almost 300 yards, pretty much his best game in his career, and that's considering the fact, hey, this is his first road game, and had his best statistical game of his career thus far. Yeah. Brian Robinson, telling you, if he get hyped, and now he got a full season under his belt, it's gonna get ugly for our opponents. And I look at that, and just like you said, the perseverance. I think it's the fact that they dug deep, they got it together, and they won a football game, especially considering the fact you looked at how Denver came in this victory. In his win. Denver came in this matchup essentially 0-1, heartbreaking loss to the Raiders, and then, come back here where, they was on cruise control, and then Washington came back and persevered. But that just showed me a lot about this football team. Because, it's funny. We always talk about in these games, we see a fight, but usually those fights don't like when we persevere. Like, okay, yeah, we played to the last whistle, but we got beat by 15, or we got beat by this. You've seen some fight, but this just showed me, hey, you can deal with adversity early, and you can bounce back. And this is one of those where this was a game that really made me confident about this team more so than anything, because normally, especially in the 3 years that we've covered it together, we have 18 points. If we lose about 18 points, you can nail it in. Like, because we never really had especially from an offensive standpoint, we never had that type of firepower to kind of come back and just kudos to Eric Bieniemy. He's like the people. People gotta realize, hey, he's doing, and I love what he's doing with Sam. Those screens, they work pretty well. I think that's one thing I liked about that situation. It was some screen plays. He threw it in the air a couple times. Obviously, he threw one to Terry. So I'm this team at 2-0. I'm loving this direction.
Yeah, a lot of things stood out for me. The run game, like you said, Brian Robinson, and I even said last week, the game against the Cardinals, that something that kind of concerned me was the 92 yards, I believe it was, that we had as a team. This week had 122, led by obviously Brian Robinson, had 4.8 yards a carry, which is, if you're able to average that or even close to that on this season, you're a pretty damn good running back. Defense established dominance, not early, but they established it eventually. Deron Payne, who I feel is being absolutely disrespected in the national media. I saw a list. I think it was by Pro Football Focus. Don't quote me on that, but I think it was them the top 10 interior defensive linemen, and Deron Payne was not on that list. Jonathan Allen was, but Deron Payne was not, and I thought that was so disrespectful. That very first drive, that first defensive drive we had in the second half, he single-handedly had a 3-and-out. First play was a sack on Russell Wilson. Second play was a handoff tackle for loss. The third down was a swatted pass, but all by Deron Payne. Deron Payne got the sack, got the TFL, and swatted the pass, forced a 3-and-out, and that continued the momentum that we had carrying over for the first half. Another stat that I always look at, especially in the 3 years that we've covered this team, that has been our kryptonite, our poison, is our third down defensive efficiency. We held them to 30%. They were 3 for 10 on third down. I don't know if I texted it to you or if I said it to you, or if I don't remember who I said it to, but I did say Scott Turner's defense, or Scott Turner's offense, would never. Being down 18 in a Scott Turner offense means that you can put a bow on it, you could pack it up, call it a day, because you might get 10, 14, maybe 17 of those points back. But you're not getting all of them back, especially not getting a win. I like Emmanuel Forbes, like you said, his bounce back, gave up that long pass to, I think it was the Mims, came back, got the pick, had a couple pass deflections. I think overall the team showed fight, and I like that it wasn't, they chipped away at it. They didn't look at it as, or at least the coaching staff, they didn't look at it as, we got to get all this back at once. The how the phrase goes is, best way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. You go and get that touchdown, make it a go for two. I thought was, I questioned it a little bit, but hey, when you make calls like that and they pay off, it's not it ends up not being a bad idea. Got the 2-point conversion, made it, I believe, a 10-point game. Had a good defensive possession. I believe that was the fumble on Russell Wilson, and went down and got a field goal, cut it to a 10-point game. It was a 7-point game at that point going into half. Then you had the Deron Payne 3-and-out, which I referenced earlier, and then it was just it from there. The Commanders had the momentum. They had the dominance for the rest of the game until that final Broncos drive and that Hail Mary.
Yeah, for sure. And man, that was even that Monday, I thought to myself, you got to be kidding me. This man engineered it was like 40-some second drive, 0 timeouts. Even after the win, it kept me up. It kept me up Sunday night. And so we definitely got a victory in. Like you said, now the focus is now against our matchup with the Buffalo Bills. We're trying to be 3-0 for the first time since 2005. The Mark Brunell days.
Yep.
Joe Gibbs days. So as we get this preview, we got to bring in my NFL matchup madness brethren. He's been on my show, Couch Coach Live, previewing the Buffalo Bills last year. So got to bring in my guy Easy D from the Now, this is a tongue twister now. Hats, Tats, and Stats. So we're going to bring in our guy, Easy D, in the building.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hey, what's going on? What's going on, man? How you doing?
Good, man. How about you?
Good. So, yeah. So, a tongue twister indeed, but definitely, you're here. Definitely appreciate you coming on tonight as we preview our matchup with the Buffalo Bills. So, definitely want to get your thoughts first on, obviously the Bills 1-1, obviously the bounce back win against the Raiders last week. How do you look at the season thus far for your Buffalo Bills?
I can tell you that all of Western New York and all of Bills Mafia not happy that we're not 2-0. That first game still stings. There's no world that we should have lost that game, and we did. We found a way. We tried really hard to lose that one. Last week looked a lot better, right? Everything looked good. We ran the ball. We moved the ball. We didn't turn the ball over. The defense looked good. We made tackles in the open field. We made solo tackles when we needed to. It was interesting watching that first drive, watching Jimmy G chip down the field and then just take it in. And it just had that feeling like, oh no, here we go again. We're going to find a way. And I myself have gotten out of that. Oh, we're the same old Bills, because we haven't been. In the Sean McDermott era, we've gotten away from that, find ways to lose, find ways not to get it done. And I felt myself slip back into that after, watching the Monday night flop that we had. And then seeing the first drive, I was like, ugh. But I'll tell you what, man, they came out, they handled the game. They handled a solid pass rush that, the week before made Russell Wilson's life really difficult. And our biggest question mark this year has been our offensive line. The boys in the trenches have been the question mark, and they had a really solid game. I mean, Cook ran for 125 yards, I think it was. Josh didn't have to run for his life all day. I mean, it was exciting to see, and that kind of gave us a glimpse back into what it's supposed to look like. I think, at least that's what they draw it up to look like. And what we were hoping it would look like in week one. So thoughts so far, I mean, hopeful, going in the right direction. The preseason was ugly. Obviously, the national media, all the drama with the Diggs conversation. And does he want to be in Buffalo? Does he not want to be in Buffalo? I subscribe to the school of thought that, if Diggs didn't want to be here, we would know. It wouldn't be speculation. And I think it's shown. You saw him on the sidelines with Josh the last couple of weeks. If Diggs didn't want to be here, he wouldn't have walked up to Josh before the drive to take us to overtime on Monday night, and wouldn't have been there being like, "Hey, let's go, we got this." You wouldn't have seen him, broing out on the sidelines. I think all that was just eyewash for the media. I'm glad it's over. I'm glad I haven't heard about it in a few weeks, and I think we got some hope going up. I think it's going to be a good game this week. And trying not to look past, I got that Miami game in 2 weeks on my mind, but I this is not a look past game by any means.
Yeah.
And this definitely not the Washington Commanders team of the last couple of years.
Absolutely not.
Where it was pretty much looked at, all right, Buffalo's going to go in. This was always looked at as one of those college games in week 2 or 3, that kind of a tune-up game. You can afford a few mistakes, figure out where your weak points are. This definitely the season, I feel like, is definitely not one of those.
Yeah, this isn't Miami versus Appalachian State in the early 2000s by any means.
Absolutely, yeah. And like you said, and it's funny, yeah. And Bills Mafia kind of killed me on TikTok. So I don't know if you ever seen the clip where the little baby got baptized, at the little table, and then he said, "Our Lord and Savior is Josh Allen."
Yeah.
And they showed Stephon Diggs on it, and he got quiet. And I made a coarse joke, and they ate me alive. Like, you're just reading into this. What are you talking about? I was like, yo, it's a joke, guys. Like,
listen, there is no sense of humor in Bills Mafia, none. Like when you talk bad about the Bills, you may as well, I don't know, have kicked Jesus or something. There's no comparison to the way Bills Mafia reacts, and I personally, I'm not a big fan of it. Like I don't like that. I don't like the thought that, I don't like there's two sects to me. There's There's the one sect that says, the Bills and Josh can do no wrong. And if you talk ill of them, you're the worst human being and you don't know anything. And then there's the other side of it that are just fire everybody, burn it down, we suck. And I'm like, there's got to be a middle ground here. And I take pride in being that middle guy.
Yeah. I totally agree with you on that one. We had some. I think our fans base, we're not quite that way, but sometimes it gets a little crazy. I don't know about how Bill Mafia crazy, but it gets a little crazy in Commander.
We are definitely toxic. There's a lot of us in there that are.
I think that's true in any fan base, to be honest with you. And
there's some Commanders fans on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it these days, that are completely unbearable.
There's times. So because I run 3 shows, I have 3 Twitter accounts, and there's days I'm like, I just need to be off sports Twitter today because I just can't. I can't watch people go back and forth yelling about things that don't matter or aren't true, like speculation. Like you're arguing over your opinion on speculation. I just can't.
Right. But shout out to our guy Ken. LO Commanders money line will be burning cash this weekend. Hey boys, what's going on, Ken?
What's going on, Kenneth?
We'll see you down the Turnpike in almost 2 months from now. We'll see you, Kenneth. 2 months get here real quick.
Oh yeah.
So we definitely gonna see you right around this time, Thanksgiving week. So let's get yourself ready, Ken. It's gonna be a battle. So we got to talk about obviously Washington versus Buffalo. Now, this is the very interesting. This is to be the 17th matchup. Now, this is an interesting stat. So obviously we know out of one of the matchups there was a Super Bowl matchup against us. Obviously, Washington did win. And that was from January 1992. Rob wasn't even born. So
I was not. I was negative 8 months old.
Right. So ever since that Super Bowl loss to the Buffalo Bills, the Super Bowl when Dallas, not Dallas, Lord, when we beat Buffalo in 92, Buffalo has won 8 of the last 9 matchups ever since that Super Bowl. So it's been a very lopsided ever since 1992. So Easy D, I got to get your thoughts on what are your Washington versus Buffalo moments.
So I don't remember the Super Bowl. I was alive for it, but I was like 5. So that memory is a little foggy. Like that may have been like about to turn 5, so I wasn't even there yet. But I do remember my first NFL game live and in person was a Bills, and this was back when they were the Redskins. So it was a Buffalo Washington game in Buffalo, and I went. I don't even remember who I went with. I think it was my uncle took me and my cousin, but it's the first time I was ever at that stadium, and that to me will forever be something. I still have the ticket stub somewhere in my house. I mean that to me sticks out as the most prolific memory of these two. I mean, because you think about for a long time, I mean, most of my life was the drought. There's not a whole lot of good memories prior to 2017. So I thinking back, now if you would have told me that we were 8 and 9 of the last 9, I wouldn't have believed you. Just because of how rough the Bills stretch was there for 17 years. That's the big one for me, man. Like your first NFL game, I know a lot of people probably remember theirs. I remember bits and pieces of it because it was so long ago. Because apparently I'm getting old. But I remember it. I remember we were sitting in the corner. I think we were up in the upper bowl, off in the corner. It was like I remember it being warm, sunny. It was a good time. I don't remember the score. Don't remember who won. But do you ever really forget your first time going to see your squad play live and in person?
I wish I could forget mine.
Me too.
Oh no.
My first time was 2014. We played Tampa Bay. It was my first game at FedEx Field, and our RG3 just looked terrible.
Oh,
I wish I could forget mine. It was a fun experience, but a terrible game on our end.
Yeah, I want to forget mine too. So mine was in 2007. So this is when the Giants came in. They were 0-2. And that's the year they won the Super Bowl. And that damn Plaxico Burress, hit that Eli Manning hit Plaxico Burress and beat us. Man, that was a long ride home because I live about 2 hours away from FedEx, and I was like, man, that's disheartening. It's a gut wrencher, but but we're here 16 years later. Happy times are here again, I guess. So, so Rob, what's your,
I did look it up quick. I believe this was the game from 11-3 of 96, which would have been a 38-13 Buffalo win.
Ooh.
That's just the one that makes sense, like date and time wise.
Yeah. So Rob, what are your favorite? Is that favorite, but just any of your Washington versus Buffalo memories?
I think this one is pretty obvious because I know Derek had mentioned, he was a lot of the time after the Super Bowls has been rough for the Bills. At least your owner wasn't Dan Snyder, and you didn't have to go through everything we've went through. Hasn't been much better, but
very true. No, you can keep that one. I don't want it. You can keep that one.
I don't know your boy. I don't know your boy. A little bit. He is some lukewarm water though.
Yeah.
Who?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But I forgot I forgot his last name because I know it's
Pagula.
Pagula, yeah, because his daughter was in the U.S. Open. Yeah, Pagula, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, mine December 2nd, 2007. It was the first game after Sean Taylor's death. Opening, we got the ball to start, drive down, kick a field goal. That very first play from scrimmage for the Bills, played with 10 men on the field. We left Sean's position open. I think Fred Jackson ran for about 22 yards. Ended with a Bills field goal because Joe Gibbs called 2 timeouts in a row and got a
I remember that.
Yeah, 15-yard penalty.
Yeah,
the loss was tough, but at the time, because I was a freshman in high school, and I had gotten, because my birthday is actually next Saturday, so for my birthday that year, my dad had gotten me a Sean Taylor jersey, and then a few months later, he was shot and killed. So that was it hit me. That was the first celebrity death that really hit me hard. So that game as a whole, even though we lost, I think at the time it was a lot bigger than the game itself. Ended up going on a run late in the season to make the playoffs anyways. From the grand scheme of things, it didn't really affect much. But speaking of the Super Bowl, I've never actually done the math, but I'm going to go out on a limb here and say if I was a betting man, which I tend to be, I'm pretty sure I was conceived the night of the Super Bowl. I would bet money on it.
You might be a Super Bowl baby, for real.
Because I was January, whatever, probably the first or second Sunday in January, and I was born September 30th.
Yeah, that math shakes.
Yeah, because I think our Super Bowl was January 26th. So, Rob, it might have happened that day.
Now I got to ask my dad.
You was conceived that night.
That is the definition of being born and bred to be a Washington fan, right there. Right?
You know what?
My blood.
As a young kid say, the math is mathing, Rob, and
math is definitely mathing right now.
I'm like, hey, yeah, you might be a Super Bowl baby for real. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, and I echo to your sentiments, Rob. Obviously that game. December 2nd of 2007, lost 17-16. And that day is weird. It was dark and gloomy. It was a really dark, rainy, gloomy day. And what's weird about it is, even though, like you said, it was more than just the loss. It was, obviously, you lose a Sean Taylor, and you think about it, the funeral was the next day. It was a lot of stuff. It was a lot going on at the time with this team, and it was just it was. I think, like you said, even that Freddie Jackson play, it was ominous. It was kind of one of those days where it was just something was in the air and it wasn't good. As far as from the game standpoint, and so yeah, I remember that. And then also, won a game with you guys. I think the last time we won was in 2015. We beat y'all, I think that the week before Christmas in 2015, we beat y'all 35-25. because that was the game. That's obviously Kirk Cousins was there, and that's when it kind of pretty much started our. Well, it didn't start our run, but he we continued our run. I put it that way. By beating you guys. I think we was up 21-0, and that's when y'all had Tyrod Taylor back in them days. So yeah, and that's one thing where that kind of helped that momentum for us winning the NFC East, because that was one of the games where we looked like, because I think y'all like we were really pretty much the same, like record wise, like as far as like in that 500 range, slightly above and slightly below 500. So that was a game, even though we need that type of win. So yeah, that's crazy. The last ones. And then I remember I forgot what year we played y'all in Toronto. I was like, what? I think we played y'all a couple times in Toronto. Remember, yeah, you used to go to Toronto?
Yeah, that was one that led to like one of the scariest times of a Bills fan's life, when all of a sudden they're like, maybe they're gonna move to Toronto, and it's like, don't do that.
I know.
Don't do that.
Please don't. We, especially for the NFL wise, we definitely.
Yeah, that was when the whole like the Wilson family was like, Ralph had passed, and the Wilson family was selling the team, and I still refuse to play Bon Jovi anywhere near my house or anywhere on anything that I'm playing, because Bon Jovi was the one that wanted to buy them and move them to Toronto. So I've like banned Bon Jovi in my life. That was right around that time. And that was, you mentioned my man Tyrod. I love Tyrod. Here's my problem though. Like the benching of Tyrod for Nate Peterman. And I talk about Nate Peterman way too much, but the benching of Tyrod for Nate Peterman was one of the most intelligent coaching moves I've ever seen. Now you look at it on paper, and Peterman went out through 5 picks on 7 passes, including 2 pick sixes. We got rolled by the Chargers. But what it did is it basically told Tyrod, like, you got to go win games. You can't just not lose them. You got to go win games. You can't be afraid to make mistakes. And we saw a different side of Tyrod after that. And it actually might have been that season.
Yeah, for sure. And shout out to the pod father. I got Jeff. Per se, you remember the 92 Super Bowl. I'm so old. Hey, not really, man. That's all in your head. But and definitely a huge shout out, and pod father once again. Cruz is the pregame baby. So let's go. Well, yeah. So, fellas, that's all right. So we're talking about in this game, what do you look at as far as who's the X factor for the Buffalo Bills in this game, in your opinion?
The answer to that is going to be the same in every single time I talk about my boys, and it's Josh. Because if Josh plays smart and Josh plays clean, we're tough to beat. I mean, Diggs is elite. Gabe Davis is a solid number 2, regardless of what people say. I don't know if you guys have caught it, but our 2 tight ends are absolute hammers with the football. I do not want to be on the tracks when those trains are coming through. Dawson Kincaid has laid lumber on every time he's touched the football, and it's fun to watch. Our offensive line is a question mark, but Josh can make up for that, and he's been doing it for years. The X factor for the Buffalo Bills is, does Josh turn the football over? If Josh goes, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 more on the ground and a pick, yeah, we probably win. If Josh goes 175 and 2 picks, we're probably not winning that game. And that's Josh Allen is, in the best way and the worst way, the X factor in every Buffalo Bills game, and he will be his entire career. And you got to take the bad with the good. He is so good when he's on. You have to be able to take a game like 2 weeks ago and be like, yeah, those are going to happen once in a while.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, Rob, who's your X factor in this game?
Our boy who is he's that new free agent signing we talked about the other day, number 99. Can't remember his name for some reason. He's relatively new.
Our delusional fan base say he's a bust.
Yeah,
I think it's a guy named. I think his name. Chase. Is it Chase Young?
I think it's Chase. His middle name is Rookie Defensive Player of the Year, Young.
That's a 7.5 sacks guy that had.
Yep.
Oh,
that's him.
Oh, but they don't give him a mulligan because he was out half the majority of his sophomore season. Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember him. Yeah, you're right. I think he's going to be a swell guy in the National Football League.
He might do something in this league. I don't know yet. But no, Chase Young is my X factor because we know what the rest of the line is. We know what Deron Payne is. We know what Jonathan Allen is. We know Montez Sweat is going to get paid. Chase Young had a better game than I had anticipated. I know pregame they talked about him being on a pitch clock, on a pitch count on Sunday against the Broncos. They very quickly threw that out the window, being down 21-3. Got a sack and a half, a few pressures. He was very much involved in the game. He wasn't a decoy. He was very much getting pressure. He initially got the pressure on Russell Wilson, had to leave the pocket. Jamie Davis was able to get that fumble and recovery. That was because of Chase Young. If Chase Young is able to have that game as well, you're talking about 4 defensive linemen whose favorite place to meet is at the quarterback. Going back to Derek's point about Josh Allen and turnovers, the reason that's important is because Josh Allen, when he throws it in, when he turns the ball over, specifically in the second half, Buffalo Bills are 10-14 record. Just in general, they have a 30-21 record, which isn't terrible. You're still winning more football games than you're losing. But at the end of the day, your goal should be not to turn the ball over. If this line's able to get pressure, especially with Chase Young being in there, I think it end up being a long day for Josh Allen.
Yeah, that's definitely my matchup to watch too. Is your guys' defensive front four is as good as anybody's, and our line is our biggest question mark on offense, and it's not close.
Yeah, for sure. I think one thing too. I think my X factor is gonna probably be Brian Robinson. I think, especially the way I think from an offense standpoint. Obviously, I look at the weather forecast. It's going to be a rainy day in FedEx. So you just look at it where I think he's going to have to kind of win that matchup against it. And that's one thing too, where I think he would it'll definitely kind of help somewhat keep this offense on the field where like you can do those screens and we can get that running game going first and then kind of let everything else kind of in a sense open up. So I definitely think if we can get Brian Robinson involved early, I think that could definitely help our offense as well. So that's who I think is going to be the X factor. So we'll talk about storylines. What is a storyline to watch? What you got, Easy D?
The storyline for me is going to be the weather. You mentioned it. They're talking about this tropical storm cyclone thing coming up the coast. That's going to, they're predicting. And if I had $1 for every time the weatherman was right, I'd have no dollars. But they're predicting that this thing comes right at the coast and it's going to be hitting during game time. Weather's the ultimate equalizer. If neither team can throw the football, it comes down to who's going to win the trench battle. And that is the storyline for me. If it's going to be wet, if it's going to be rainy, if it's going to be tough sledding out there, tough to throw the football. I mean, yeah, we got a quarterback who's 6'5", got hands the size of frying pans and can sling the rock 70 yards in the air. If it's 60-mile-an-hour winds and torrential downpour, I don't think that matters. What does matter is who's going to be able to run the football, who's going to be able to control the line of scrimmage. And I think both defenses and both defensive lines are built to do that. The front four for you guys, the depth that we have at all positions on our defensive line, they're built to dominate the line. And if you take the passing game out of the equation, that's a storyline for me. I mean, we watched that with the Bills Patriots game a couple years ago. I think it was a Thursday night game, Monday night game, one of the two. Snowy, windy, like 60, 70-mile-an-hour winds. And Mac Jones threw one pass, and the Patriots beat the Bills. That same game, Josh threw like a 50-yard dime that hit Diggs in the hands that he didn't catch it to the end zone. That happens, right? But the weather, man, the weather is absolutely the story here. If that thing kicks out to the ocean or kicks more inland and stays away from the game, it's going to be a completely different ball game than if we're playing through a monsoon.
For sure.
Yeah.
What you got, Rob?
Yeah, we alluded to it earlier. It's making Josh Allen uncomfortable, and if he does have to throw in a torrential downpour, seeing if we can capitalize and get a couple turnovers in this game. +2 against Denver was a big reason why we won that game. It's going to be the same thing here, forcing Josh Allen to make a pass that he's not quite ready to make, and just hoping that Emmanuel Forbes can come up with the rock at least once.
Yeah, and I think it's funny. I think one of the big storyline is which Bills team that we will face. I think that's where you look at their tell of the two games they played. Will it be more like like the Monday Night Football game, or be like last Sunday? So that too. And then it's funny. I feel like obviously if you've been following us since 2021, there was a week 3 matchup against this Buffalo Bills team. And one of the key storylines I said for this one was our first true test. This is where I think when people, you look at, yes, there's a bevy of teams that are 2-0 on the season, and this is kind of one of those games where Washington can really make a statement. I think when you look at just the fact of, because the people are like, oh yeah, you beat Arizona. Many people still think they're one of the worst teams in the league. You beat a Denver team, but now if you can, win a game against the Buffalo Bills, who, many of us deem as Super Bowl contending team, at least a top 3 team in the AFC, which is that's their reality from a preseason perspective. So this would be somewhat I think could be a head turning win if we do win this game, and this will be, like you said, the first true test, I think, as far as when people will say that lends to the credibility of our wins this year. So, and like I said, it's deja vu, because that was pretty much how we were saying in 2021. So, but obviously we failed that test miserably. But
if the weather wasn't such a factor, and I'm hoping it's not, I'm intrigued to see how Sam Howell does against the Bills defense. This is a defense that under Leslie Frazier was considered very good, but also very vanilla, and still made certain quarterbacks say weird phrases like, I don't know what I was doing. I was seeing ghosts. So I'd be intrigued to see what the mastermind behind this can do to a young quarterback. But again, if the weather sucks, it's not going to matter. The game plan is going to be downhill and tackle.
Yeah, essentially. Yep. So what are the keys to a Buffalo Bills win? What you got, ECD?
That is going to be continue to play tight defense. Play tough defense, I should say. You look back to the Monday night game, the 2 long runs, one was well blocked. The other one we had stopped at the line, and Trey White decided to try to do a shoestring tackle on a dude who was stacked up at the line. Got to play tough. Especially if the weather's going to be a factor. Don't turn the ball over. Got to have ball security. This is absolutely, especially in a weather game, the team that turns the ball over the least is usually going to be the one that wins it. And continue to build on what they started doing last week, being patient, take what the defense gives you. I'm not a big run the ball first guy, especially in the modern NFL, especially the way our team is built, but we have to be able to run the ball regardless. It's not a run first mentality. We're not pounding the rock with King Henry, but we got to be able to move the ball on the ground. And it doesn't always have to be Josh. We do that. We control the line of scrimmage. I think we're gonna win this game.
All right. What you got, Rob? As far as what are the keys to a Commanders win? What you got?
So I feel like we've killed the horse, but I'm gonna keep beating it. It's attacking Josh Allen, because he's the centerpiece of that entire team, and I love these matchups because the Bills they have a special place in my heart, because anybody who's watched me knows me and Josh Allen grew up 30 minutes apart from each other. He's from Fireball, California, which is about 30 minutes east of where I'm from in Fresno. Anytime I've gone through Fireball prior to that, I've gone as fast as I can, because it's literally just a farming town, nothing but dirt fields, couple barns, and then you get into a city like Fresno. So I've always rooted for Josh Allen. Coming out of high school, getting a chance at Wyoming, I've always had a special place in my heart. But again, he's so good. And looking at the weather report as of right now, at 9:41 Eastern time on Thursday, the rain is supposed to let up about 1:30, 2 o'clock Eastern time. Now, what kind of conditions would that leave the field in? Who knows? But again, if Josh Allen is given a clean pocket and clean skies, it is going to be tough. That's just a fact. Yes, he leads the league in interceptions since he has joined it in 2018 with, I think, the number is 84. But when he does not turn the ball over, he is as good as any quarterback not named Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, you have to mention the other side of that stat is he leads the league in turnovers. He also leads the league in touchdowns.
Sure. Yes. He does.
Yeah. I know. That's funny. I talked about on my podcast yesterday. That's like, yeah, because people say, you know, as far as everybody gives like him a pass, it's like, but he's the kind of guy that will give you 5 touchdowns in the game, but have 3 interceptions, which is the good with the bad. But, you know, so yeah. So I think the key, for us, for the Commanders to win, like you said, we got to force Josh Allen into turnovers. I mean, it's a given. You look at even like, you know, if you look at with the Jet situation where you had a guy like, you know, Zach Wilson I call it that performance was being in a group project but didn't contribute. That's what Zach Wilson's contribution was in that win over you guys. But you look ahead where, you know, obviously there was 4 turnovers, the 3 interceptions, and then the fumble. So I think you look at those type of situations where I think if we can get into that type of situation, I think we have a legitimate shot to win this football game. And then I think another key factor is pressure to Josh Allen. I think that's the thing too, where if we get pressure to Josh Allen, I think that's where and get him rattled. I think that's the thing where that's going to be the key for us. I think, you know, as far as I don't know if we're going to really get like those turnovers. I forgot who was the guy from the Jets who had 3, which he got his bonus the first night. So, you know,
it's fine. He's a man of the people.
Right. Yeah, he's a man of the people, you know. So I don't necessarily think we're gonna have a game where we're gonna have like 4, you know, Josh Allen's gonna have like 3 or 4 picks in this game. But I think the key is really gonna it's gonna have to get him pressure. Because I think last week, I don't think Josh Allen pretty much had a clean jersey last week.
Yeah, they did a great job last week. Like, I mean, it was and weirdly, like our PFF grades on our line weren't very good, but Josh had a clean pocket most of the day, didn't really get pressured much. They helped Spencer Brown out with a lot of chips and stuff on Max Crosby, but I mean, he held his own against an All-Pro. So and when that happens, which he weirdly does well against TJ Watt normally too, but looks like doesn't look good against like some random schmo. But yeah, it's weird. He had a clean pocket last week, and like, I mean, he looked good at what he had 5 incompletions. He was like 31 for 35 or 30 for 34. Like, and it was all dink and dunk. It was like, it looked like the game we all claim that Tua plays.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, by we all, I mean me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think one of the key things too, and this is definitely going against the grain of especially what I've been, the philosophy for the Washington Commanders for the last 3 seasons that, you know, that we've covered this team is unleash Sam Howell. I think he has a legitimate arm, and I'm not saying he can go toe to toe with Josh Allen, but I think he can put us in positions, and I think test it out. Like I said, especially when that secondary these guys got, I definitely think he needs to test it out, and I think he got the weapon. So I think. And I definitely want to see what he's going to do in his secondary. So I think that's one of the keys where, hey, if he can kind of do his thing, you know, a nice mix of screens, nice, down the field throws, because he's pretty good down the field. Like, I think he hasn't. I think in this, at least this season, I think he's like perfect when it comes to downfield throws. So I definitely think he'll get that squared away. So, fellas. The moment everybody's been waiting for. It's prediction time. So we'll go around the horn, get the picks. So, Easy D, what you got in this win? I mean, we got winning this game.
I got to take the Bills. I got to take the Bills taking it. And I said this on my show this week, and it's before I really paid attention to the weather. I said 34-10. Because I put a lot of stock in McDermott's defense. With the weather, I'm going to back that off a little bit. I'm going to say 21-17. I think the ground game for Washington kind of comes through. I think they break a couple long ones, maybe not long ones to the house, but long ones that get in scoring position, better position, whatever it may be. I think the Bills offense still cooks, and I think it starts with James Cook, but I think 21-17 sounds about good right now with the weather and the questionable field conditions.
Okay. And Rob, what's your score?
I have a 28-24 Commanders win. We're not quite yet in the season where me and Chris try to start the reverse psychology and start picking the other team. As usually, we save that one and we're about 2-6, 2-7.
Yeah.
But I think if the first part of the game is going to be in a monsoon, essentially, it's going to come down to run game, and I do have more faith in our running backs than I do in not Dalvin Cook, his brother. James Cook, and then just gonna have to rely on the defense from there to keep Josh Allen at bay. You're not gonna stop him, but you can certainly contain him. You gotta do your best to contain him at that point.
Yeah. I think I got Washington winning 24-21. I think it's gonna be kind of one of those games where I think it'd be very, very close, neck and neck. And I think I wouldn't necessarily say this is going to be one of those matchups where who got the ball last. But I definitely think fourth quarter is going to be definitely really intriguing for this team. I definitely think Joey Sly's going to kick us a field goal, get us out of here with our first 3-0 season since 2005. So, hopefully this comes to fruition. So we'll put a bow oil first. So definitely I got a huge shout out. Let's see. Go to the comments. Shout out to Bobby Alvarez. Definitely shout out to him. Said we're going hog hunting. Hey man, hope this happens. And Kenneth, I tell you, with Kenneth, when it comes to dark humor, his dark humor is elite. So obviously, he's a Cowboy fan. We talked about, hey, we'll see him down the road, this, that, and third. Hey, a little trash talking, 8 weeks before our matchup. So you guys have as much of a chance of coming back as Diggs ACL this season. So Kenneth is too soon. It's extremely too soon. But we know Kenneth in his dark humor is unmatched. So shout out to Kenneth, enjoy the dark humor. If you're a fan of dark humor, this is your guy, But so we'll put a bow on tonight's episode. So, easily tell them where they can find you on social media and in the upcoming project, what you got going on.
Right on. So you can catch me and four of my buddies on Hats Tats and Stats Podcast. We are a championship caliber Buffalo pro sports talk show. We would drop weekly episodes previewing the Bills games and just talk some general football and other sports. It's Buffalo heavy, but it's not just Buffalo. Me and my co-host Bold Claim Ben, who is aptly named, talked a little bit of trench talk. We both played offensive line in college, or I played offensive line, he played defensive line. We talked about like some hand combat stuff and just some technique there. So we're a little bit different. We're not just diving into the X's and O's all the time. We do make bold claims and ridiculousness like that. You can find us on Facebook, Hats Tats and Stats Podcast, on Twitter and Instagram at HTS_pod. You can check out, we're an audio podcast, so we're exclusively audio. You can check us out on our website. That's bicbp-radio.com. Go to the podcast tab, click on the sports icon, find our logo. That's where you can find all of our episodes, all 133 of them, I think, was yesterday's episode. You can tune in on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, anywhere you get your podcast from. You can probably find us. Just type in Hats, Tats, and Stats Podcast. We are probably the only thing showing up, I promise. I kind of planned the name that way.
Yes, and it's a tongue twister for sure.
My co-hosts on multiple occasions, I've had three of the other guys have to fill in for me when I can't host the show, and all three of them have messed it up and just mixed the words around. Or what I'm like, guys, it's our show. Like, just get the name right. It's not that hard. But I've been saying it for almost 3 years now, so it just rolls off my tongue.
And it's funny, as getting ready for the show today. It's like, I hope I don't be like, I don't know if y'all have seen the thing where Webby was doing like things for like the Breakfast Club, and he was messing up the lines. Yep. I swear to you, I was saying it like walking around. I'm like, okay, Hats Hats, Tats, and Stats. Remember HTS?
Yes.
Like, remember just thinking about it like that. I was like, oh God, I'm about to be like Charlamagne the God. Like I was about to mess it up, but
there is a chance that this could get a lot easier for you. We do have a potential sponsorship concept coming in the works where a local bar may be actually sponsoring the show, and it would change the name, so it would be a little bit easier to roll off the tongue. So that's in the works. We're not quite there yet, but we are working on it.
Yeah. So Rob, tell where they can find you on social media and anything got going on.
Y'all already know you can find me FNC Pod on Twitter, Football and Show Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. Cruise Island is every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern for you right coast folks. That's I don't have anything big coming up, just some normal Cruise Island shows coming up. Definitely check out what I got going on Twitter. Again, I can also find me on every podcast platform, Spotify, Apple, Google.
Yeah, man. And obviously the first show, Couch Coach Live, you can catch me there every Wednesday, 8:00 Eastern Standard Time. Yeah, I'm a right coast guy, and I'm okay with it. You know,
I know how y'all do it.
That. I know it's a struggle. You know, I do when you do footage and you do stuff and you're in your pool. The East Coast and me get a little jealous, but I'm here though. So and then also check out our show. Check out Commanders in the Chat podcast every Thursday, 9:00 Eastern Standard Times, and pretty much social media Commanders ITC, and also for the other show Couch Coach Live social media, and then couchcoachlive.com the website. So yeah, I do need to create a Commanders in the Chat website, but I think we might wait till the Harris administration make their mind up before we do that. But
that's true.
So yeah, all of our stuff is a little tempered,
Yeah.
Our name may change as well too. So but it is what it is. So hey, we're here. Definitely appreciate you, Easy, for coming on tonight, previewing Buffalo Bills. Maybe we'll be a +1 one of these days between now and 4 years from now. So, Commander Bills can cross paths before 4 years. But yeah, man. So this has been episode 64. Definitely great show, fellas. And we'll be back next week previewing our matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles. And we're out.
Go Bills.